Hello everybody. I just wanted to record this video to give everybody an update on how I am since my return from Italy, and also to give some more information about the peace and the timing of my entire trip in Italy. So yes, I am back as of March 5th to the States after 3 blissful weeks in Italy, or mostly blissful weeks in Italy. And the flight went very smooth. I am back safely. Before I go any further, I do want to thank everyone who have been praying and who have reached out with kind messages and comments asking how I am. I've gotten a lot of those, and that's one of the reasons why I'm posting this video. It means so much to me. I've tried to get back to messages specifically. Comments, I haven't been able to get back to every single one, and I apologize on my social media pages, Instagram and Facebook. But I wanted to post this video to let you know that I am doing well. No one asked me to quarantine on the way back, but I have decided to do it for 2 weeks, and I'm going on day 10. And I'm still feeling very, very well. I'm very healthy. I don't have any symptoms. So all of that is a miracle from God. It's a wonderful blessing, and I'm very grateful, and especially grateful for your prayers. So thank you so much. I also want to go into some of the timing of my trip, because honestly, I'm so completely overwhelmed by the goodness of the Father, and I feel like it's important to share that. So bear with me, because I'm about to outline some of the most important things of my trip, and how I feel like God truly blessed me. So my trip, as I said, I spent 3 weeks in Italy. I started planning my trip in April of last year, of April 2019. And I started looking for tickets in July, August, September. By November, I knew which tickets I wanted to buy, and early December, I had booked those flights before I even knew anything about coronavirus, COVID-19, any of that, before any of that hit the news. And I just want to pause right here and say that for me personally is crazy amazing, because as much as I love planning, I'm one of those spontaneous people that don't usually book their tickets prior to 6 weeks in advance. My 16-day trip to France, I took 2 years ago. I planned the entire thing in less than 30 days, including booking my flight. So this particular trip to Italy was abnormal for me. That being said, it plugs into what I'm going to share with you later. So I had my tickets in December. Then in January, February, I started doing more active planning, sites to see, places to visit, my objectives for business. All of those I started to actually lay out, which again is way beyond what I usually do as far as timing goes. I'm usually not that, I don't plan that far in advance on a lot of international trips that I've taken. So that was just amazing, specifically because I had already gotten all my tickets, all my train tickets, my flights, a lot of the reservations for the sites that I was hoping to see, my international SIM card. All of it had been planned before I even heard that COVID-19 or coronavirus was even going to be an imminent threat for me. And honestly, I wasn't worried about it. The night before I left for Italy, on February 15th, I sent a text out to my family, and I just said, hey, I'm going to Italy. In case you haven't heard, these are my dates. This is how you can contact me, etc., etc. I was kind of shocked, because a lot of them came back with worried messages about coronavirus, and it wasn't on my radar at the moment to be worried about. So I took their suggestions, and before I went to the airport the next morning, I stopped by Walmart and picked up some cleansing wipes and Germix and things like that. And I had it on hand in case I felt like I needed it. And I'm not normally a germaphobe, but I was the one to be careful even beginning of my trip on February 17th, 16th and 17th. I wiped all the seats down in the airplanes. I washed my hands frequently. I didn't touch my face. I did all of that from the beginning of my trip, and I'm very thankful. That being said, my first stop was in Venice, and I was there in Venice from February 17th through February 24th, so a full week. At the point of my landing in Venice, there was less than a handful of confirmed cases of coronavirus, and they were not in the areas I was going to visit. So again, I wasn't worried. On Friday, so 5 days after I had arrived in Venice, news came that there were 2 confirmed cases in Milan, which is fairly close to Venice. So then I was keeping an eye on it. I wasn't super concerned, but I was keeping an eye on it. And things started escalating fairly quickly because on Sunday, which was the day before I had planned to leave, cases were confirmed within 30 miles of Venice. So at that point on Sunday is when I made a couple Facebook posts, and I asked for prayer, and we continued on with our plans for the evening because we were going to a private carnival event, and the ball was splendid. I'm glad I went. But after that night, the whole atmosphere in Venice completely changed. People were beginning to panic, and things were getting a little scary. So, as originally planned, and this is a complete God thing in my mind, I left Monday, February 24th, and took the train down to Rome. I didn't end up I didn't have to change any of my plans, any of my tickets. Those were exactly what I had booked months before. The morning that I left Venice, there were 2 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the city of Venice itself. That just blows my mind. And not only that, but also Venice closed down all the museums that day and canceled Carnival. So even if I decided to stay longer, and even if I was fine, I would not have been able to experience the things that I had planned. So the whole timing is just absolutely phenomenal. I went down to Rome, and I spent from Monday through Friday just exhausted, completely exhausted, trying to figure out what I was doing. I was getting a lot of messages from people telling me that I should come home, that things are going to get worse, that I shouldn't stay. And I just took it easy, and I did a lot of praying, and I just gave it up to the Father. And I saw the sights that I could see. I didn't exhaust myself, so there's a lot I still didn't see. But on Thursday, I had total peace from the Father to continue my trip. And at that point, there were cases in Rome too, and there were cases in Florence where I was going to be headed next. But I went ahead and took the train up to Florence, and that Friday night on February 28th, I had so much peace, so much complete peace from the Father that this was exactly where I needed to be. And this was exactly where God wanted me to be. And I can't even describe it. It was one of those moments where you're like, yes, this is right. I'm glad I didn't give in to fear. That Friday night, I was impressed with 3 different things. One was total peace. One was the word distraction. And what I mean by distraction is I was getting a lot of feedback and a lot of comments and a lot of messages from people who genuinely care about me, and I appreciate that. But they were asking me to come home. Actually, some of them weren't even asking me, they were telling me to come home. And I felt that the word distract or the word distraction was, this was all the feedback I was getting and the news articles that I was reading and the fear and just the total atmosphere was all a distraction against what God wanted me to do, what God wanted me personally to do in that moment, in that week. And I just, the moment that word hit my mind, I had total peace to completely stay and not let any of it affect me. And I was inundated with the feeling that even though I was going to be staying, the timing would be very close, and that it would be a matter of days when I got back that it would be too late. And I'll go into that more later. So on Saturday, I posted a video and posted it to my Instagram and Facebook stories. Some of you may have seen that when I did so. Just to let everybody know that I had made the decision to stay till the following Thursday, and I outlined a few of the things and the reasons why I felt that it was the right decision. One of those things was a verse in Nehemiah, and I'll see if I can upload that video later too so that people can watch it. But anyway, I posted that video Saturday night, even though I had complete peace, and I was sure that God was giving me the peace to stay. I still was getting tons of messages, negative messages, and messages from people that do care about me, and just people continuing to tell me, you've made the wrong decision, don't, come back now while you still have time, flights are going to be cut off. And I just cried. That was the first time and only time during my entire trip that I just cried. And I just prayed again, and I said, you've given me peace, Father, just let your will be done, and I know you have this completely in your control. So on Sunday, Sunday was the first day of 4 days in Florence that was absolutely positively amazing. I met with a new friend that I wouldn't have met other than a God orchestrated event where I saw something on Instagram, and I commented to this other follower of mine, and she connected me with a person who loves costumes also in Florence. And so we were talking, and so on Sunday we met for lunch, and it was a lovely meeting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, long story short, after we met, she told me that if I needed a place to stay, if I couldn't get back home, that I could stay at her house. And that right there just made me almost bawl, because yes, I had peace to stay, and yes, I had peace that God would take care of me, but the details of that, I had no idea. I had no idea how that would work out, how everything would pan out. And it was just a total peace. It was a total God thing that I met her, and that she opened her house to me, even though she hardly knew me. So it gave me continued peace to know that yes, I'm where I need to be, and yes, God has got my back. So not only that, but the ensuing days after that, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I continued to meet wonderful people. So much so that my entire time in Florence was definitely the highlight to my entire trip. I had so much peace. I can't reiterate that enough. I had so much peace that final 4 days in Italy. And it was the most magical time ever. And I had stayed in a wonderful Airbnb. I'll link her information below, so that everybody who's going to Florence can check it out too. And I worked with some amazing photographers, and I'll link their information below too. But anyway, all of that to say, I got back to Rome Wednesday night, flew back home just like I planned on Thursday without a hiccup. That's just amazing, because okay, so let me go into this. I got home close to midnight on Thursday, March 5th. Within 36 to 48 hours, I learned that Italy nationwide was closing off access to all museums and public events. And less than 36 hours later, the whole nation was under quarantine. Not only that, I'm crying. Not only that, but 6 days later, President Trump announced that he would be cutting off all flights to and from Europe. Just a little over a week after I got back, that was put into place. Let me reiterate this. Okay, so I booked my tickets before I even knew coronavirus was a thing. I booked them in December. My whole trip went as planned. Nothing, I didn't change a single ticket. Less than 48 hours when I got back to the States, all museums in Italy were closed. Less than 36 hours after I got back, the whole country was in quarantine, which would have prohibited me from quickly, at least, getting out of the country. And then just a little over a week later, all flights to and from Europe and Italy were cut off. I'm just going to say this right now, that I am so completely and utterly in awe of how God specifically has worked in my life through this whole thing. It's been incredible and amazing, and I'm so in awe and thankful and grateful for all of it. And I just want to say a few more things, so bear with me. Whether this coronavirus COVID-19 thing is all hype, or if it's a true threat to humanity, that's not what this video is about. I don't want to get into it. I can see points from both sides, honestly. I do know that since being back, I told a couple friends when I got back, I said, I'm home safely, I'm back, I feel fine. I'm back to a world that has gone completely nuts. There's been so much hate, there's been so much fighting, there's been so much divide between not only groups and political groups, but between friends. I see it in my own friends group, and between my international friends throwing hate on Americans and Americans throwing hate on Europeans. It needs to stop. Just end of story. It needs to stop. Because that right there is not going to help us in this situation. Everybody has been affected by this whole coronavirus thing, and it's really relatively new. all of my events, save for my tax appointment, has been canceled for the next 6 weeks. That's crazy. I am worried for our economy, both here in the US as well as in Italy and around the world. I don't think the good things are going to come out of it unless we specifically make it a point to not be as bad as it could be. But one thing I do want to go back to is the word distraction that I kept thinking about in one night where I had so much peace in Florence. We can use, I'm not saying that coronavirus isn't real, and I'm not saying that it isn't a real threat or can't be a real threat. But what I am saying is that we can use all of the data, I say that loosely because no two articles agree with each other, but all of the data and all of the news articles and the memes on Facebook and everything, we can use it as a distraction. I think it is a distraction against what we, and I'm talking to me personally, we need to be focused on individually, what God wants us to be focused on individually. I think it's being used as a dividing tool, and I don't think that's good. So I want to encourage you, especially to my brothers and sisters in Christ who are listening to this, thank you, that we need to use this time to pray for each other, to strengthen each other, and to look to the Father, because the bottom line is we can try all we might not to get sick, and we can try all we can possibly do to medically prevent getting sick and helping others not to get sick. But the bottom line is God is completely in control. He is not blindsided by this. And if my whole trip to Italy showed me anything, it was that. Just how he orchestrated every single detail, every single stop on the way. He was not blindsided by it. So I just want to encourage each of you that you can trust the Father with your individual worries, with your individual schedule, with your individual timetable. Honestly, he has your times in his hands. And I just pray that each of you experience the same peace and the same contentment that I have throughout this whole situation. Because honestly, it's made everything worthwhile. So I'll end on that note. But business, now that I'm home, other than going crazy because I'm an extrovert and I'm self-quarantining, everything is going fine. And I do want to join forces with all my other business owners and say that we do continue to appreciate your business. I'm still sending out packages daily from my Etsy site and website. And we do appreciate that. And we also appreciate your prayers. And know that with each package I send out, I always say a special prayer for the person who has ordered from me. So I just want to end on that note and to let everybody know that God is so trustworthy. God has got this. And yes, we're in kind of scary times, and yes, we don't know what to expect next, but we can trust the Father. So that's my prayer for me and my prayer for you.